Okay, welcome to another episode of Panakal Podcast for Geeks, a show about good friends hanging out, talking about things we love. You guys know my
Good.
co-host, Andrew Sides. We're gonna solo this today since we don't have a guest.
Yep.
Um, I
Fucking
th-
Luke
oh,
Skywalker glove because I burned my hand.
yep. I think it's supposed to be your right hand, but good job.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is supposed to be the right hand.
See,
Unfortunately,
it's
the boiling
your
water did
camera's
not
totally
fall on
reversed this time, just so you know.
it. Oh,
Like,
is it?
if it was the normal way we do it, it would look like your right hand. Yeah, the chair is on the right, but it's normally on the left. Like
Oh,
your whole
interesting.
camera is always reversed.
Okay, that might also be a weird camera. I'll have to check my camera in the end. We
No,
we
I
are
mean
having
it don't.
camera.
Nobody knows these things unless like this is my left hand, right?
Yeah.
And like I think mine's reversed too, because it looks weird. Oh no, it
Yeah.
is my
Yeah.
left hand going
That's
up.
well. That I was gonna say that's my right. That looks like right hand to me. Like if I'm holding it
Exactly,
up like that, that
exactly. It's my
matches.
left hand, so
Okay.
it's just a weird camera thing. But I don't really have anything to talk about off the top of my head other than I did two back to back shows last week. So I
We
went
could
to
talk like you. Yeah, you had your cons. I finally had the thing I can talk
oh
about.
yes, we should
Yeah.
start with that. Or you want me to talk
Okay.
about the cons first? Let's talk about you
Yeah.
first, because
Yeah.
I
We
think
can
it's
start
kind
with
of a cool thing. Like, you kept it secret for so long, and only so many of us actually
um.
were allowed to know
They.
about it, right?
Yeah. They kind of told us we had to, and
No,
I
I get
don't
it.
like
You didn't want to. You don't want to
because
get in trouble. So,
of all the places I would want to get in trouble with, the least is the U.S. government.
right? Yeah, yeah. That's a secret. That's a secret society all its own. Speaking of
Yeah.
secret societies, so why don't you tell us
The-
what you've been doing? Because I don't think the audience gets what we're doing.
yeah. So since the I got selected for it last July, but I've been doing work for them since like last November,
Hmm.
and it's basically working with the U.S. Mint as part of their artistic infusion program. And this is a program that was established in like 2000 or something like that,
So it's
a
been
while
around
ago.
for a little bit.
Yeah, it's been around for a bit. It it's hard to tell. I don't think they do it like every year or something. It's like I'm not sure how often they refresh the artists.
Sure.
Um, because a friend of ours, Lucas Durham, he was a AIP artist as well for the U.S. Mint from I think he said
Yeah.
2018 to 2019.
He's been talking about his for a while, so maybe he's allowed to.
Yeah, I mean,
Because he was
well, it's
announcing his stuff way before you and a couple of artists we know were talking about it.
yeah, yeah. So well, like he apparently worked with him in like 2018, 2019, and the only thing they wanted us to wait around on was they wanted to update their website with the current
Okay.
artists. Like literally until February of this year, they still had Lucas on there
Right.
as one of the artists, and he hadn't worked with them since 2019. So,
It's
uh,
interesting.
yeah, and like so then I was like, I wasn't totally certain. Like, well, like, how often do you guys refresh this and stuff? But anyway, so what it is like the artistic infusion program was established to inject basically new blood into the design of U.S. coins for circulation, and then commemorative coins and congressional medals.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you do, and I can't talk about any of the projects I'm doing right now. I could just say like I'm working with them.
Right.
I can, if a coin goes to production, if like one of my coin designs goes to production, I can talk about that one. I can't share like any of the previous designs or
No, that
iterations of it.
makes
I can only show
sense.
the final iteration. Yeah,
In case
so
I
the whole
want
thing.
to use them again later or something.
It's yeah, it's a twofold thing actually. So first off, intensely fascinating, just the whole thing. On one hand, they can't own the copyright of anything because it's the U.S. government. But on
So
the other
you own the
hand,
copyrights?
there's a yeah,
Okay.
sorta. There's a weird catch to it. So on one hand, they don't have copyright because it's the U.S. government. Think about like NASA, like all the space photos they release and stuff from Hubble and everything. Those are all public domain always.
Right.
Same thing with like the Mint. However, there is more than just the US Mint. There's also third-party mints like the Franklin Mint, which is a private company
Hmm.
that creates commemorative coins and stuff similar to the US Mint, uh, and often employs either ex-medallic artists, which are like coin designers, or AIP artists like myself, or they even use old designs that were used by the US Mint that are no longer copyright protected. So the US Mint is in this conundrum of like, well, how can we enforce the copyright of our coin designs without when we don't have a copyright, right? So what we have to do is like we sign this agreement with them that says like we are licensing our copyright to the US government for 35 years, I believe.
Oh,
Is
you have
what
to
this
sign it away to them. Got it.
Yeah, so they say like for 35 years, this design is going to be the US's mint responsibility. After 35 years, you can choose to have it revert back to you, or we can just continue enforcing it. Up to you.
Hmm.
So it's like cool. Um, and they say like usually by 35 years, like we don't care what the design is at that
You
point.
probably won't care about it in 35 years.
That too, yeah, that too.
Right.
It's kind of like at that point, like no one's really going to care. It's kind of me personally. I feel like at that point it should be public domain.
Right.
Obviously, that's not how copyright laws work, but to me, 35 years is like, yeah, if you can't do anything in that amount of time, what are you doing? Kind of deal.
Right.
Uh, anyway, so what happens is we have to sign an agreement that gives us or gives them a license to enforce the copyright on our behalf. So that's how they work around that loophole.
That's the loophole. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, that's the loophole for that. And then, oh, there's a second part of this, and I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh,
Quick side
the
note,
other.
I'm not being twitchy with my I keep twitching, but it's because these new glasses and these headphones don't want to sit together.
Oh, you
So
got new glasses?
they're like the same company frames. I just got new ones, and they feel
Um,
different, dramatically different. So
you think it's like slightly larger or
it's
something, or
it's
slightly
slightly,
smaller?
yeah, it actually fits my head better, and I think it's throwing out the headphones. The
Um,
prescription's definitely weaker. Apparently, my prescription was too strong
yeah,
for the last 4 years.
you keep your eyes have gotten better,
I can see
or
everything.
they messed up the first time around, one or the other.
They made it too strong the first time.
Yeah.
It
Oh, so
explains a
then
lot.
the other part of it is anything we produce as part of this,
Hmm.
like not this
Anything
isn't
you
like
produce or they produce?
this isn't like you know how like some video game or like not just video game companies but some companies have it where it's like you produce anything while you're employed with them is theirs effectively. Have you ever heard of
Yeah,
those kind of bullshit contracts?
I don't like
It's not that
those.
kind of it's not
Okay,
that kind of contract. It's just like any artwork you produce for the design of the coin.
great. That makes sense.
Yes, they're like anything you produce for that is the property of the mint. Cool. However,
Anything they know
that's
about,
huh?
anything they know about, technically, right? Like if you did a sketch and never shared it with them.
Yes, but so what it is like it's less of like an enforcement thing as more of a this is actually a thing that kind of makes me want to try and do this traditionally. Like so far, I'm just doing it digitally.
Right.
However, if it's like traditional drawings or like whatever, anything on like paper whatsoever, they want you to send it in
Sure.
to their archives because they want to hold on to it for historical preservation.
Sure.
And
I get it.
that was a neat because like last October we all got to meet in Philadelphia for a symposium where we all got to meet the other artists and got to do a tour of the facility and everything. That was really neat.
That's
One of
cool.
the
Yeah.
really neat things was getting to see some of the older artifacts that they have in their archives, and some of those are like artifacts from like the very first mint that was established. Old plaster casts of coins and stuff and doing it, and like old drawings that were done from like 100 years ago, 150 years ago, and stuff. And looking at those and like knowing like, oh man, like if I had to send in anything, like it would have to be part of this. Is like, oh, that's kind of neat. I kind of
Yeah.
want to do it just for that reason, just to be
Because you
like,
might
yeah,
end up there too.
yeah. And then like 100 years down the road, like some of the ones look at this like, who's this fucking asshole Andrew Sides that drew this? But
Why did he think this was a good
no,
idea?
yeah, it was really neat. But yeah, it's like basically like yeah, so that they're very big on like historical preservation. Uh if a coin gets selected for production, like my initials end up on the coin, I get like a certificate, what like a proclaiming it and everything too, and all that kind of business. Very very neat, like whole real fascinating process kind
Do
of.
you get any like royalties beyond what they pay you?
No, you don't get royalties. What happens is you get a payment for the initial design.
Mm,
And then if the coin goes into production, you get an additional payment. That's
that's
like,
cool.
I believe the additional payment is like double what the design payment was.
That's cool.
And a design is considered one side of a coin.
Wow.
Uh, so you can have like one project I did. It was only like one side of a coin because the other side is kind of like static. It's evergreen kind of deal.
Okay.
Um, there's another one that I might be doing. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to tango around like how much can I talk about?
And don't talk
There's
about it
another
if you can't.
actually like there's a. I don't know if I'm going to be doing it or not.
Sure.
But in the off chance, what could happen is some coins get designed from the ground up. So then it's like you design both sides, like the what they call the obverse and the reverse side. And when that happens, that's a payment for each side that you do for that design. So if it was like, say, fantasy flight rates, which they are not, but if it was like fantasy flight rates, what is it, like $100 a card or something?
150 a card.
150 a card, right? So if it was like fantasy flight rates, it'd be 150 per design. So if you're doing one side of a coin, that's $150. If you happen to design both sides of the coin, you're getting $300.
Right.
Uh, the government pays much more than that, thankfully.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I'm sure they do. They got money.
Yeah.
How does
It's really fascinating. I found it in the most
that's what I was
happenstance
going
of
to ask you.
ways. Yeah. So what's really fascinating is it felt like from what me talking to like the other artists is the majority of them were reached out to by the chief engraver for the U.S. Mint, Joseph Mena.
Hmm.
Um, our friend
Oh
Sean
shit.
Andrew Murray
Yep.
is one of the AIP artists this year, and I believe he was reached out to by Joseph Mena.
How did he
And
find you guys though? Just online?
well, no, I think Joe is friends with Sean.
Maybe.
I think the two of them, I found it. So the way I found it was I was making dinner one day and I was scrolling through Instagram and I followed Joe Mena on Instagram ages ago because he also does collectible statues sculpting. Like he does a
Yeah.
lot of stuff with sideshow and stuff.
Yes.
So I followed him for that, and then I found out after the fact he works for the Mint, and he is the chief engraver for the U.S. Mint. So I'm making dinner, and I'm scrolling through Instagram, and I happen upon his post that he's like, "Hey, it's a call for artists. Like the U.S. Mint is looking for our next crop of AIP artists. If you feel you have what it takes, apply." Right, and it's a and I say like he reached out to people, but they all still had to apply as well, and they still all
Sure.
had like it was all like the one good thing about the government. I like at least I feel like in regards to a lot of these kind of positions and stuff is like it's very merit based. Uh, they can't. There's no real thing they can do like with nepotism. Like they
Right.
can't play favorites in that way. I'm sure if you get into upper echelons, we see sometimes, that kind of thing does happen. But
Right.
in low level stuff like this, not so much. It's like you live and die by your own sword. Um, so everyone still had to apply, but then it was like even though he had some people that he wanted out, he wanted to see come forward, they still had to compete against other people that probably were as good or whatever. But yeah, there's a lot of people that they all said like, oh yeah, like Joseph reached out. He said like, oh yeah, you should try out for this. Like, I think you would be a good fit or whatever. Yeah, I think Sean Andrew Murray is one of them. Bud Cook is
Um,
another
oh, cool.
AIP artist this year. I was surprised by that. He didn't go to the symposium. I'm assuming it's because LuxCon was literally a week later in Reading.
Yeah. He was
So,
yeah, he was busy, man. He was at LexCon for like a day and he got sick.
oh man, yeah. So yeah,
So
like he didn't show up. I from what it looks like, he didn't. They didn't work it out, but I guess Bill Sienkiewicz was supposed to
dang.
be working at some point, which we were having a dinner and one of the people from the Mint mentioned that. I was like, what the, like, I cannot imagine
I
what a
can't
Bill
imagine what
Sienkiewicz
that coin would look like.
exactly, right?
It
Like,
would
what
be
is a
like
Bill
Two
Sienkiewicz?
Faces coin.
Well, the wild thing is like the biggest challenge about it is pure drawing, but it's drawing in the way that like you do it because you have to suggest bas relief sculpting
Right.
on a coin. So it's like you can't use your usual tricks of the trade. Like um yeah, like the way they describe it to us is like, it has to be line art. You can show like some shading to suggest like rounded forms and stuff, but like say, like how like I'll get messy with paint and stuff, or even like someone like Bill Sienkiewicz really
Yeah.
gets messy with paint
They
and
don't
stuff.
want
It's
any
like
of that.
you can't physically sculpt it with
Is it
the
just a pure black
CNC
and white
machine.
image then?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. It's very much like it's like yeah, you're walking without any kind of tightrope. Like you can't hide any bullshit. It has to look
Right.
good.
I
And then
wonder
on
if
top of that,
next time they do the signups, we should like that's something Tawny could do.
oh yeah, probably. So yeah, if they I'll keep an ear out because yeah, if I ever hear about it, I'll let her know.
Like my stuff won't fit on there. Maybe I don't know, but
Well, so like the tricky thing about it is like the thing they give us is like the designs are first done traditionally they were done about like 8 inches wide on like
mm,
plaster cast 8 inches wide, and then they were reduced down to the size of the coin. That used to be done with something called a panopticon, um, which is basically like this giant, like imagine like a machine that takes up like the whole room of a house, and its whole design is to take something that's like this big and reduce it down to the size of a coin and
how
like
what's it doing?
transcribe.
How
So
is it
it's basically
transcribing
just
that?
you have you ever seen
I guess my better question is why is it so large to do something like that? You would think they'd be able to just like
it?
imitate
It's a
it.
well, it's a pure mathematical thing because it's
Oh,
like the way the old machine nowadays it's all digital. So it's
sure,
like digital, and then there's the file sent to a CNC machine.
got
Uh,
it.
they switched over to that very very late in the game. Apparently, they switched over to that like within the past 2 decades or so, something like that. Um, but for the longest time, what they were using was what's called a panopticon. And what it is like you have this 8 inch disc, and you're tracing a stylus over it. You're using a stylus to trace over the plaster cast that you have. And what that's doing is like that's transcribing each of your stylus movements all the way over to the end of the machine where there's a cutter that's slowly cutting into the master die of the coin. And the reason the
That's
machine's
cool.
so big is because it has so many reducing gears and trying to still keep the fidelity of the movements. So it's like, if you move something this big, this much, like say 6 inches across, it's only moving across like that much in the end, like
Because it's
three
such a tiny
millimeters or
coin.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's
So
crazy.
yeah, so they don't do it like that anymore, but they had photos of it, and I knew enough about it that I was asking a lot. I was asking a lot of like questions. I was like kind of like the kid in Jurassic Park, where
Yeah, they're like, who invited this guy?
yeah, well, yeah, one of the guys like I was asking a question because like a lot of their older casts they have dots on them, and I recognized that instantly. I was like, oh, is this for like photogrammetry? Like, are you using this because they're not painted plaster casts or anything. They're just like white plaster casts. So with photogrammetry, you have to have points of reference. And if the subject is too bright or too monotonous in tone, it
Hmm.
doesn't have any point of reference to create like a detailed mesh out of the photos. So you have to put like reference points on it so it knows what's
Is it
going
kind of
on.
when they like how they do in the movies where they try to
Exactly.
put the
Yeah,
face on?
exactly. Same kind of thing. So like, you know, those dots will tell you like, oh, like that distance to there is that amount. That means that this one is like we know what those distances are if we're looking straight ahead, but now that it's turned in space, we
Right.
know what that looks like. So it's the same kind of thing. But like, yeah, the guy explained it. Like, he looked at me. He was like, "Yeah, like he's like, I think you actually might know a little more about that than me." Because I,
He's like, I'm reading off these crib notes that I've got here,
yeah,
and now you're
yeah.
ruining it for me.
No,
He was
it was,
like, it's like when Joey goes to work at the dinosaur at the field museum.
yeah, yeah. No, it
I
was
was gonna say
super neat.
dinosaur museum like an idiot.
It was super neat. The one of the so the other fascinating thing about it is like, you have your 8 inch, you're working at like 8 inches across, but you're also having to make sure to check that it actually reduces down and is legible at coin size, which is a whole other task in
Which is
and
a
of
whole other
itself.
thing, yeah. Oh, shit. Sorry, I almost dropped my
Yeah.
tea. Um,
It's like definitely like the ultimate thumbnail checker. Like, they always tell every artist like, "Hey, zoom out to check your work," and stuff. Like that is definitely
I
like
mean,
the
that's what they
zoom
tell
out.
magic artists to do, right? Like, it's got to, everyone always designs these huge fucking paintings. And it's like, dude, it's got to fit on a card that's like
Oh yeah.
that big.
Oh yeah.
And you'll know right away if you can't read it. Like, Scott does that in class all the time. He will show our thumbnails and he'll be like, look how
Mhm.
beautiful this thumbnail is. Look how much you can read, how much color and stuff. Because, like, the image itself is so small. He's like, I can read every single thing here and tell you what's happening. And then
Right.
we go into the piece itself, which isn't, it's just a thing you need to learn. It's a thing you learn naturally by doing.
And then like, so imagine now like you have your thumbnail, but you're not allowed to use any color. You're
That's
not allowed to
hard,
use
man.
you're not really allowed to use any kind of shading because you can show some modeling of forms, but
Oh,
you
you can't
can't
really.
really like black out like a section behind a figure to make it pop or whatever because physically that's not how that coin is done.
Right.
So,
It's
but you
so
still
hard.
have to make it all look legible at a certain size, which is just wild.
I was trying to see if I could find. I once designed a Thanos Infinity coin, and it's double sided with Thanos on one side, and I had to do which kind of which is a very rudimentary version of what you're talking about. It's like black and white, and I hated every minute of it, and I was just like, why is this not? But I understand now because you probably need to do it line art, not actual like. I sent them like
Yeah,
colored art first, then I sent them black and white versions of the colored art. But now I'm wondering if I had actually sent them line art, if it would have been like cleaner in its design. You know,
maybe, maybe. I mean, yeah. So it's a very interesting challenge. I'm looking forward to doing more of them. Uh,
does sound
and
challenging for sure.
yeah, and it can really go the gamut. It could be either circulation coins, commemorative coins. I think bullion is in the mix where that can happen, or congressional medals.
See, that's cool,
So
man.
yeah, any of those, and then it's like technically like that would be like the most circulated piece of art that I've done. Then if like one of those
Yeah,
actually became
because it
like
just
a
goes
coin.
out there into the wild.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, no,
Awesome.
that was like my big news. I was finally able to announce that back in a few weeks ago and stuff. They
That's cool, man.
finally, yeah.
I mean,
So yeah, and then
the
you
waiting's
just
the hard part.
had, huh?
I said the waiting's hard. I mean, I can announce one piece of good news is I messaged you last week to let you know that I'm officially signed on to be a magic artist. So
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So you can announce that now officially too. Yeah,
I can say it. I'm under NDA basically. So
yeah.
um,
Like you can't, yeah, you can't say what you're doing or whatever.
I
You can
can't
at
say what
least
I'm
say like,
doing, but I
hey,
can say that I signed my
do-
NDA um and it's
did did
the
I
hardest
miss it or
part.
did you make the
I
social
did not
announcement?
announce it anywhere. So
Oh, all right.
um I was going to I wanted to make sure my AD was cool with me doing that all over and it's he was like you're officially signed, you signed your NDA, you're an officially signed artist.
You're
And
locked in with us. You
well,
can't escape.
they have to do a background check, so I'm waiting for that to be done. But I don't have anything bad in my background, so I should be okay there. And then it's just a matter of getting assignments. He said the hardest part is just waiting for the longest part isn't even this process. It's waiting for your card to come out when you're done. designing it,
Oh,
right?
because it's like a year and a half
It could be.
advance,
It
isn't it?
depends on the set, right? It could be a year. It could be 2 years. There's cards out there. People
Oh my
have cards out
gosh,
there like, man, I did this thing like 4 years ago. So,
man.
which is
Yeah,
crazy to think
that's
about, right? Like you're sitting on something for like how. What
yeah.
happens if you accidentally slip up and you talk about something you worked on 4 years ago? And then somebody else in the room is like, "Sorry, did you just say Sliver Queen?" And you're like, "What? No, I didn't." It's like, "Yes, you did. I heard you say it." Like gonna be out of control. So
I feel like you end up just taking like a mentality of like, yeah, I'm just not gonna talk about any of this
yeah, you just kind
kind
of
of deal.
walk out of it. So
And that's like honestly, I mean, that's the majority of my freelance stuff. Like the US Mint thing I can talk about at least in the capacity of like, hey, I'm working for the Mint, like do as
yeah,
a freelancer kind of thing. But like
but you
most of my
can't talk about
freelance,
anything beyond that.
yeah, like most of my freelance I don't talk about until like well after the fact. And then it's like even then I'm kind of like, okay, is it okay to share this?
Right. So
I
that's where
think
I
I'll
was
be
just
okay.
like, can I say that I'm under NDA? And I think that's okay. I just can't say what I'm working on or what series I'm on or any of that stuff. So that's all
Yeah.
up for whoever wants to take guessing games with my work. So um
And then you just had Planet Comic Con,
so I
right?
did Gamma first, which I've never done because it's so here's the thing. Have you heard of Gamma?
No.
Uh,
I think did Ross mention it to us?
yes, Ross mentioned it to us. He told me to sign up for the it says the
That's right.
Game
Okay.
Manufacturers Association. I was trying to make sure I got that right.
I do remember that part of the conversation. So this was your first time doing it, correct?
Right. So I didn't. I have to sign up as an official member still. But basically, what it does is it gives me 1 year access to all the stuff they've got. But the show itself usually is in Reno, and I was like, there is no way I'm flying to Reno for this show. So
Right.
happens this year they moved it. Their contract ran out of Reno. They have apparently a 5 year contract or a 3 year 3 or 5. Like, nobody can officially tell me. Oh, my pen is leaking. Whatever. In Louisville, which is
Okay.
um about five
Still a drive.
hours.
Yeah.
It's still a drive, but it's not as bad as going to Reno.
You know.
So I was like, 5 hours maybe. And then my friend messaged me, and he is a retailer in the show. He happens to have an extra badge. He's like, I've got a badge. I've got room in my room because his business partner is not coming. So he's like, if you just
Okay.
show up, your cost is some meals and the drive, but the room is covered, the badge is covered. And I was like, if that's cool with
You
you,
can't
I'm
argue
down.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I drove out. So not this yesterday, but the Sunday before, I drove out Sunday. I stayed there till Wednesday, and then Wednesday morning I got up at fucking like 5:36 in the morning. I drove to Kansas, which is 8 hours. Here's the thing: it's 8 hours from here, from Chicago, and it's 8 hours from Louisville. It's roughly 7.5 hours with stops. It'll be about 8. Um,
Okay.
I was initially going to drive home first, but then I was like, why would I drive 5 hours home and then 8 hours the other way? Well, I can just go 8 straight from Louisville. So I didn't go home for about 8. I was out. I was gone from like Sunday to yesterday, basically.
Right.
Um, what day is today? Is today Tuesday? Yeah, today's
Yes.
Tuesday. So
Today's
yeah, so I was
Tuesday.
gone till Monday. So basically, Gamma is it's not your typical convention like the one you and I are used to working. It looks like it's what it is it's a trade show. Have you ever been to a trade show?
Yeah. I went to a lot of trade shows when I was a kid because my dad used to work for Cumberland Farms, and so we
Okay.
would do like loads of trade shows
Yes. So
for
this is
that.
basically a trade show for tabletop gaming and like other like it's the Game Manufacturers Association, right? So
Yeah.
it's literally set up for tabletop. Like everybody in there is literally pitching. Everybody walking the floor is some form of retailer. Everybody
Mhm.
working the floor, as far as I can tell, is pitching to these retailers. Like all the companies are there. Board game houses were there. Like Greater Than Games was there. I got to see the play testing of the game I worked on. Um, so Greater Than Games there. My artwork is not on it yet. It was a prototype for play testing.
Hmm.
I went over there multiple times to see if my artwork was on it. But
Just to
like
double check.
well, at one point I looked at it. I'm like, nope, 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 nope. I'm like, it looks kind of like my stuff, but it's not my stuff. And they were like, oh, that's just a prototype. So they're like, it should be on the. And I'm trying to get somebody to confirm when my art. Best guess is my work won't be on that game until it shows up at Gen Con this year.
Hmm.
Like it's part of the final product. Um, But like Watsy was there, Wizards of the Coast was there. They're trying to pitch retailers on carrying like Magic and Hasbro products.
Yeah.
Um, there are companies like Ultra Pro,
I'm
Dragon
sure I'm sure
Shield.
Asmodee was there as well, or
Yeah, Asmodee
whatever
was there. Like
subsidiary
you,
of
you
the
think of these
Asmodee.
like all these companies are there, and I was walking around. My friend was a retailer, so technically I work with him at his company. Okay, which I'm not going to name because I don't want to get him in trouble. But either way, um, I apparently could have gotten free swag by telling them I'm a retailer, and I didn't
Oh, yeah.
realize this. Well, I didn't
Yep,
realize
yep.
this. I
That's a
was
trade show staple.
yeah, I didn't know till the day after before I was leaving, so I got hosed on that. But what I did was, since I technically am a vendor with my own products, anytime I met a retailer, so my friend would introduce me to all his retailer buddies. I
Mhm.
pitched him on who I was. Like I'm like, oh, you have a gaming shop? I've got playmats, I've got sketchbooks, I've got dice here. And what I did was I made a bunch of sell sheets. Do you know what a sell sheet is?
Vaguely. I
It's
don't actually know,
basically a
like, what goes
menu of
into it,
what you
but I
carry, right?
right.
A more robust, like Brian Cullen, who's a
Is that
friend of
like
ours.
the is that like the retailer version of, like, what a pitch deck would be to
Same thing,
okay.
exactly. Um, Brian Cullen has one of the best sell sheets I've seen to date. His has got like um, images with SKU numbers and prices and everything.
Oh, wow.
Mine was just images and all the costs of the different, like it had a cost for the playmats, it had a cost for prints, metal, dice, tote bags, everything I make. I had prices, and at the in big letters at the top, I wrote everything available wholesale, so they know that wholesale. And I said wholesale is and it could be anywhere between 45 to 50% off. Right? Typically, wholesale is 45 to 50% off. So, and then I gave him a business card. I put it all in an envelope. So anytime I pitched to a retailer, I just handed them an envelope that had all the
Nice.
information they needed. And I handed out about 25 of those. Um, and then on top of that, since the company I'm working with, Long Pack, I'm going to probably work with them to do book printing. And I have this RPG. So I had some sit down interviews with companies like Free League, who I've shown some of their RPG books, which is this whole that row right there is all Free League.
Oh, right, right.
So they've had like Bastion and the Alien game and all that. So I sat down and talked to the owner of Free League, and I talked to two other companies trying to pitch them on the art. Because in my head, I was like, if I'm coming to the show, I need to make it worth my while. If I'm going to
Yeah.
walk the floor, then what benefits are there for me, right? So I worked my ass off there. Basically, I was there Sunday. Monday was setup day still, so I didn't really get to do too much other than meet and greets. Then Tuesday was the main show started, but then Wednesday I was already gone, so I went straight to Kansas. And then Tawny was there with me. A couple of our other friends were there, and this year was better than last year. Apparently, it was their 25th year doing the show,
Mm.
so there was a lot of people. What was crazy though was there was men's college basketball and women's college basketball happening at the same time.
Oh.
So the
Oh,
area,
yeah, 'cause March Madness kinda thing,
yes.
yeah.
So the area we were staying in was super congested. Like our hotel room, like I'm glad I booked our rooms months in advance
Jam-packed.
because it was full. It was like waiting for elevators, and parking garage was full. Like my van didn't move to as soon as I parked it, it didn't move till the day before I had to load out. Or the
Oh,
day I had to
wow.
load out. There's no parking. Everything was full. There was also, I think, a cheerleader competition happening at the same time. It was just everything that could happen was happening the same weekend. You
Yeah.
know, but the show itself, it's one of those shows where I'm always like I literally went in there thinking, if I don't do good this year, I'm not coming back to this show.
Mm.
And there's a specific number I have in my head. I want to at least match it or beat it, and I definitely beat
Yeah.
it. Um, but there was, there's I don't know how to describe it. You probably have this feeling because you work shows. There's always that feeling where you're just like, nothing's happening. This was a waste of my time. You
Yeah,
know?
what are you doing?
Yeah.
That's
What am I doing? Why am I
I
standing here?
distinctly had that as, Spooky Empire, I remember.
Yeah. And I was just standing there like, so Friday it was like kind of slower. And, I kept saying to myself, it's Friday. People look on Fridays. They don't really buy stuff. I'm like, all right. And it kind of picked up at the end. I made like, I covered all my expenses basically. So I made
Yeah.
back enough for the hotel, and I made back enough for my tables. I had two tables. So I thought, okay, that's good. So tomorrow's just profit. Whatever I make, I make. and Saturday was bananas. So I was just like,
Do you think it
I don't
was
know.
because of the other stuff going on in the area as well?
No, I don't think anyone from the other stuff came to this event. I think it might have been. There's two things I think. One, I think is because it's their 25th anniversary, so people are excited to be there.
Hmm.
The other thing I noticed is they were talking about Magic being played there, which they normally don't have games.
Oh,
There are
really?
multiple
Okay.
announcements like, want to learn how to play Magic? Come to this room. Blah blah blah. So now Magic was like a thing. And I feel like people
Yeah.
who are gamers love, like Magic fans love Magic. I like playing Magic, but I ain't fanatical about it. But people are
Right.
walking the
Right.
floors, and then I've got products that fit that bit. Like, so our friend Andrew Thompson was there. Andrew's got tokens, so his tokens were moving. I've got playmats, so my playmats were just moving.
Right.
One guy bought a desk mat. He's like, I'm gonna use this to play Magic, and I was just like, you don't
Sure.
take up all the space on the table. Like they're wide. But so I feel like it's a two-part thing. I don't know 100% know why it was that busy. I'm glad it was. And then Sunday was just kind of the last 2 hours of Sunday were so hard because it was just dead. Like everybody
Yeah.
just basically was like, "We're done. We're going home." You know.
Just
Um,
yeah, it's just
I,
all God.
yeah. I mean, I'll go back next year just to see if it's as fruitful, And it's not
Hmm.
a bad show, I'm hanging with friends. The hotel, I got into the Marriott. I have a friend who works for the Marriott, so I lock in that deal early. And I'm literally across the street, like convention hall, hotel. You can even take a tunnel into it if you want to.
I remember that from Spectrum. The
Yeah.
1 year, yeah, the 1 year I was down there just because I think that was also the last year that Spectrum existed
Yeah,
as a
so
separate
Spectrum,
entity.
the year we were there for Spectrum, it was in the train station,
Right.
right? So now
Yep.
this main convention happens in the big convention hall right next to it.
Oh, gotcha. Off to the right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So like if you're looking at like train
If you're looking at the
station,
train station, it's to the right.
yes, to the right of it. Because over here's the
Gotcha.
Aladdin. So over here's the
Yep.
Aladdin. Over here's the
Yep.
convention hall. And that convention hall is huge. Like so the part of the building we were in, I was like, where the hell are the panels at? Because they keep announcing panels and rooms to learn how to play Magic. And my friend Jerry was like, it's in the other side of the convention hall. And you don't
At the
realize
other
how
the
big it
other
is till
wing.
you don't realize how big it is till you're looking at it from your hotel room. You're like, damn, that thing goes on forever. It's huge, man. And I was just
That's
like,
every convention hall to me. Like, I don't realize how big they are until I'm in it, and they're like, "Oh, Jesus, I have to
dude,
walk
when you
this."
walk the floor at like San Diego, at like San Diego Comic Con, like as an exhibitor, we try to get there early and walk the floor to look at stuff. And we'll
Mhm.
start at door A, which is all the way at the far end. And we're usually by door G, which is one door away from the end. Like Hall H is next to us. And then it's
Yeah.
out. So like we'll walk that whole thing and you're just like, it's vast. There's no way you'll get through it in one day.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can. You can walk it in one day if you walk fast, but if you
If you're
really want to
speed
take it
walking
in,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this is how and this looks large, but it's not that big a show because they did a good job of like keeping vendors and stuff on one side. Vendors and artists are together, and then all the panels are in the other building, so it's
Hmm.
not too congested. So I
It's
don't
like
know.
evenly spread out. Okay.
I can't complain. Like I said, it was a good
Oh
show.
yeah.
It's just a
Ha-
drive, man.
have you ever had like have you ever had a down year where like you still made back your expenses, but like it was a lower year or something than previous years, or
Um, this show, yes. So my
or
first,
has it always been like a more or less
no.
steady?
So this show, the
No.
first year I did the show, I hit a number where I'm just like, wow, that's more than expected. And the next year it went down. So I was like,
Ah.
okay, that's just happening. And then the year after that, so like, let's see, last year would have been my third time doing that show, and the third year I did it, my numbers went kind of matched what I did in 2022.
Yep.
So if not, I believe it was a little bit lower almost, but I can't remember exactly. Because I remember thinking that's why this year I was like, if I don't at least match what I made last in 2023, I'm not coming back. Because in my head I
Right.
was thinking
Right.
it's just going to dip even lower. I also moved. I used to have a vendor spot in a corner booth for years, for the first 3 years. But I look across the aisle, which is I don't know 20 feet across to the other side. Like Andrew's over there, Tawny's over there, and they're all like, they just got 2 tables, and they let you buy 2 tables, so it's big, and they're just
Right.
over there working it. I'm just like, they're literally right over there, and I'm in this corner, and I paid more money for my booth. It's like, why am I? So this year I just jumped ship, and I saved money, and I went to that side. It's literally just across, and I'm not on a corner where I want to be. I'm on the opposite corner, but
Hmm.
like people are like, I can see your setup from down there because I glow, you know. So
Yeah.
um,
Oh, cool.
so I'll do it again just to see if it's a fluke. Basically,
Right.
it's not a bad, you know, it's not bad if you consider the fact that you can work a show, hang with your friends, and it's not a long drive. 8 hours is about 2 hours longer than I like driving, but it's not a bad drive. It's just, so when I went there, it wasn't so bad because, you know, I went to parts. I left Louisville, and I
Hours.
don't
How
remember.
many states over is that from Chicago?
Two, I think.
You can't complain. 8 hours, you
Well,
get 2 states over. 8 hours for me, I'm just now like hitting
yeah,
one other state.
yeah, you're like in like Nashville or something. Um, the only thing that sucked was when I was driving home yesterday. It rerouted me from the main highway to a different highway to get home, and it took me through Iowa. And Iowa is very,
Flat.
yeah,
Yeah.
dude. They don't they. I pulled over to get gas at this one gas station. The looks I was getting, I was just like, I'm just trying to get gas and get the fuck out of here. Like,
Yeah.
this one dude like got is a gas station connected to an Arby's. This dude was getting out of the car with his wife and son, and the look he gave me, and I'm just like, it was like they've never seen a colored person before.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my god, like who's judging who here? You judging me for being me, or should I be judging you for going to fucking Arby's? You know,
Right.
like. But I was just like pumping gas, and I just left. And then anytime I stopped to get food, it was like I just went to the drive-through, and I just
And just kept
parked.
going.
Yeah, I would just eat in my car. I ate half the meal in my car, and then the other half I ate while I was driving, because I was just like,
Mm.
I don't want to sit still too long. And I would find like the rest areas to go to the bathrooms because didn't want to go into, like, I stopped at a McDonald's at one point to get breakfast when I was leaving. I didn't want to go into the McDonald's because people just made me uncomfortable. Like, I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know what's gonna happen to me in there. I doubt anything's gonna happen to me. But
You get
that's what
like
I have to deal with
vibes.
now when I'm on the road. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
you know, it's a feeling of like you might
And,
get
and
some
there are
stares.
crazies.
Exactly, you might get some stares, but there might be that one person who's just crazy enough to come at you.
Wants to take a little too far for no
Yeah,
reason.
and you're just like, relax, bro. Like the way this guy was looking at me when I was pumping gas, I was just like, don't look at him. And I just kept looking at my window because I was like, if he walks towards me, I'll be ready. But I was just like, pump the gas, and I just took off. Um, so those kind of parts of the road trips are always weird to me. You know,
Yeah.
Iowa's not. We got friends from Iowa, but Iowa's just weird, man. It's a weird fucking state. So I
Most of my
apologize to
like
anyone from Iowa who's watching this.
I don't know, man. I don't. Iowa's flat as shit. It's
Fair
just like
enough.
Florida. Just like Florida. I don't apologize to Florida.
Yeah, I mean, like Pensacola's not so. Like the first time my wife wanted to go to Pensacola, I was like, um, no, because it's Florida, and I want to stay the fuck
Yeah.
out of Florida. But Pensacola wasn't too bad. You know, we might get one or two looks depending on the person, but for the most part, everybody there is kind of a tourist. You know, like everybody in that
Yeah, that
area is
tracks.
either
Yeah.
owns a condo and they're on vacation, or they are on vacation and they're renting. You know,
Yeah.
um, I you know
North
it's
Florida is interesting. That's where the South ends.
yeah, I've got that much down
Which
because like when you
yeah, it's wild. Like if you go any further south than like North Florida, it becomes basically like I
it
don't know how to
changes.
describe.
We went to the zoo just a couple miles away from the Pensacola Strip, and it was janky. And then we
Oh,
went.
really?
You know, you have to go through. So you hit the tail.
That's still like the South, I imagine,
Yeah,
or
well,
like at least
you
like
hit like the
yeah,
tail end of Alabama, right? And then you come into Florida, and then you
right.
drive X amount of miles before you get into Pensacola. But you're driving through Florida, and those areas you have to drive through to get to that Pensacola part are
Hmm.
just janky. Where
Yeah,
you're just like, please don't let me get a flat tire out here.
Yeah.
right? Like I don't.
It's yeah, weird southern towns. Yeah, you don't. I want to say not until you get to like Gainesville, maybe a little north of Gainesville, is when it becomes like it's a lot of transplants from like the Northeast
Sure.
that like that settled around here or whatever. Like my family, like we're Northeastern transplants and stuff. And then if you go further south, it's all basically like Cuban transplants, and then even more like New Jersey, New York transplants. Like all the really rich old white transplants live in like South Florida.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah, I've
that's
been.
where like that's where like a lot of like West Palm Beach, like that's basically 2 hours out from Miami, kind of thing.
Yeah, I
Maybe
haven't been
4 hours
to
from Florida.
those like my wife wants to go to Orlando, and I'm like for Disney, and I'm like, why not go to Disneyland? Like,
Hey, no, actually, if you come here, because like I'm in Orlando, like if you come here, it's a pretty unremarkable city. I
sure,
think I think mostly because
I've
we
been to
have
Orlando, but not for a long time.
yeah, like not much to write home. We have a really good like considering where we are. I think we have a pretty good food scene, which is surprising. Uh, but other than that, like like other major cities, they have like really big art museums, or they have really big like natural history museums. We don't
Yeah,
really
you have
have.
Disney. That's why.
We have Disney. That's why.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're like that's good enough. Well, I'll be sure to bother you if I come to Orlando.
Yeah. If you guys visit, we'll
We're
go out.
planning
We'll hit it
it.
up.
I think the goal is to
Yeah.
come in fall, and we were gonna come in March actually, but we're trying to get her into those like dinners or breakfasts with the princesses, and apparently you need to get in on that 3 months in advance.
Oh, yeah,
I was
that
like,
shit
this
is
is wild.
hard to get into.
And I was
Yeah.
like, who do I know that works there? Maybe I have a connection, but I don't really know anyone who works for Disney straight. So fortunately, I got no hookups
Yeah.
there. So it's funny, I can get a hookup in most things, but not here. you know.
No.
So
Yeah, even like we have I mean like Disney's one of our clients at work, and like even then like we used to get perks here and there, not anymore.
yeah, which is
Not
weird to me,
anymore.
right? Because that company makes so much money.
Yeah,
But
no, I don't understand it.
which I'm gonna plug them again because we got 10 minutes left or so, and I was gonna for the my show and tell.
Oh, yeah.
I was gonna talk about a Disney product actually.
Oh, okay.
Um, so
Yeah,
when I was
let's see it.
at Gamma, I've been getting my friends send me copies of the Lorcana game.
Oh, the Lorcana, yeah.
So I don't know how to play this, but when I was at Gamma, Lorcana was there. Not it's not Disney. I mean, it is a Disney product, but it's owned by Ravensburger, right? They're the ones who make it. Um,
Right.
but basically, I think it's a cool concept. So the guy was teaching me
Um
how to.
before you get too far on it, like am I wrong, or do we know someone that has done Lorcana cards?
We know a couple artists have done Lorcana cards. The only one that you can really announce is we know Dustin Penzino. He announced his Gizmo Duck card about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly who I'm thinking of. Yes.
The other artists I can tell you about privately. We just can't announce it here.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Okay.
um, but I played the game and I like. Here's the thing: what I like about it is it's base level. It's like Magic. You're playing
I was
against
gonna
each
say
other,
it
right?
looked like a Magic game.
It's got the base idea of Magic as far as like hit points go and defense and all that stuff. But you're not trying to like if you and I were playing Magic, and I have to play this again to make sure I'm officially right on these rules. But if you and I were playing Magic, for playing Commander, for example, you have 40 points of life, I have 40 points of life.
Right.
My job is to kill you. Your job is to kill me, right?
Okay.
In Lorcana, we start out with 20 points. Or you start with 0. And what you're trying to do is build what they call lore. So you get to 20 lore. If you get to 20, you win.
Okay.
And you're not trying to
I I got no,
take me out.
I know the exact perfect analogy for this. In Civilization, there's a few ways you can win. You can either win through military dominance, which is basically like your magic thing, like you
Which is what
exterminate
I
all
do
the
when I
other
play Seven
players.
Wonders. So
Yes, or like one of the other ways is cultural dominance, which is like your civilization is so renowned that you become the monoculture for the entire world because you're so renowned and
It's like
you're
building the wonder. And
exactly like you're known far and wide that basically you dominate the culture of the world and you can win that way as well. Even though you
yeah,
may not might military might not be as strong or whatever. So yeah,
right.
Lorcana is basically the cultural dominance win
Yeah,
versus
exactly.
Magic being the
Well, I
military
think it's
dominance.
because it's like because you got to keep in mind they're trying to market it kind of towards younger people before they market it to people in our age bracket. So
Right.
unfortunately, the people that really like it are the people in our age bracket because we're the players who play Magic, and we can learn. We lean into that type of gameplay.
Right.
But yeah, the guy was like, you just build the lore, and there's like basically there's ways to like cards that give you lore. There's ways to take cards from you to give myself lore. So there's
Mm.
ways to basically I'm trying to slow you down from getting lore, and you're trying to slow me down because if whoever gets to 20 first wins the whole thing.
Right.
It's really not that hard to play. It's there is some strategy, I guess, but it's not like as far as I can tell, there isn't any like there are probably some wild combos in there, but it's not like there aren't any like wild magic style combos. But now they've so this guy was talking to us and he's like they've introduced this new thing called um, islands or locations. It was locations, I believe, and the locations are probably where you can start making some combos because you can. They're kind of like artifacts in Magic. We can transfer them
Mhm.
from character to character and stuff. So they did a really good job explaining it. I wish I could have played it a little bit more. Those decks I showed you are not open yet because I was like, I don't have time to learn this. Why bother opening it up?
Right.
But
I
apparently
don't
it's
want to
still
on
super
this.
popular. I also have a troll box my friend gave me, and I have not opened it because everyone's like, that thing's apparently worth a couple $100, and I'm just like, I might open it if I'm serious about playing because I really don't want to. I don't have any need to sell it um, because I really want to play it, you know.
Right. Right.
But at the same time, I play Magic, and that's what you know. I think one card game is enough. I actually got into. I wanted to get the Lorcana stuff because I was hoping to teach Violet how to play it at some point. You know, it'd be fun for her. She's already seen the deck. She's like, "Oh, what's that?" You know,
Yeah.
like, don't open
Did,
these.
did, did she have pretty good focus with that kind of stuff?
She has she's showing she's starting to show some like small levels of wanting. So we've been playing a game called Kids Quest. It's either Quest Kids or Kids Quest. What it is you might want to get this for your kid too. It's a dungeon crawler. It's a board game. You lay out
Oh.
a board and it's got like a you basically shuffle these cards, you put them in different parts. There's 5 parts to it's always the same 5 parts you transverse, but you're essentially going through a dungeon with there's an elf, there's a ranger, a wizard, a barbarian, and I believe a bard. I can't remember what the fourth
Mhm.
character is, but you essentially pick one. It's a 4-player game. Um, you turn over card. Each of there's cards on these tiles in each level of the dungeon. You have to defeat each card in order to move to the next level or past it. Consider them like force fields or roadblocks to your treasure trove at the end. Um,
Right. Right.
but she's been like really good with that. Now, I don't think she's ready to play D&D with the imagination of the mind. But if I were to draw a grid and put characters on it, I think she'd play just fine. She plays this just fine.
I remember this one person I followed online. I guess when he first started doing D&D with his kids, he just used like Lego.
Exactly. You just make a
Yeah,
grid, put some Lego characters down, like Brian does My
Lego
Little
characters, and
Pony.
like he just built up like little
Yep.
like art rudimentary things with the Lego pieces and stuff too to like make like sets and everything. And like I
Yeah.
guess that really helped
It's because you got
establish
to
stuff with
put
the
something
kids.
that they like seeing, right? Like Brian
Yeah.
was telling me, I think when his daughter was learning to play RPGs, he did My Little Ponies with her,
Hmm.
and that works too, right? I think it was
Yeah.
Brian who did that. So I'm trying to get her to. I don't think she has. Um, I don't think she has a high levels of concentration to be like, this is the card I should play next, and then this is the combo. Like
Right.
she's
Right.
mainly going to be playing it like I like Moana, so I'm going to put Moana down, right? And
Yeah.
you're like, all right, what happens here? You know,
And
because
not no real like long term planning or
well,
any
because
or strategic.
part of the way you play this game is some cards, in order to get ink, I think it's considered mana. In order to get mana, which they call ink, I believe, you have to put a card face down, and once you put it face down, you can't use it for its face value anymore.
Oh,
So
okay.
like, you know, if you got like Elsa from Frozen, and you're like, I really like Elsa, but she's not valued as much. She's probably pointless to play right now. You can put her down for ink because you need ink. You need mana more than anything to cast to play lore. You know, so if I
Right.
keep going, I'm just gonna name all the Disney characters I know, but you get the point. Like if you're playing with a kid, they're gonna have a hard time sacking a character. So
Yeah, they're just gonna want to really play. That was yeah, like my daughter right now is at a stage where she'll play a game. Depending on the game, she'll either play all the way through it once or she'll play halfway through it. And then
yeah,
she's like, okay, well, let's make up our own rules now, kind of
yep.
deal. So it's like,
That
okay,
happens with Violet, but I'm just like, hey, let's play by the rules first, and then we'll play by your rules. Like we have this, um, it's a game. It's basically a donut shop, and you roll, and if you match the topping with the type of donut, the bread or the dough, you grab that donut from the pile and you put it on the board, and if you make four across diagonally or however, you win. But on the roll, if you roll this mouse, he takes a donut. You give him a
he
donut,
takes on.
right? And then
Gotcha.
what we normally do is we play by the regular rules first, which is what I just explained. But then we'll play by Violet's rules, which is basically just roll till you make a donut
Mouse.
and put him out. Mouse doesn't
Yep.
even exist, right?
Yep. Yep.
Because
We have stuff like that.
yeah, because he's just a troublemaker who's stealing donuts. Um, I've been teaching her some older games too. I got her the Trouble, where you press the bubble in the center.
So that was the one I was gonna bring up. Like my parents got our daughter Trouble for Christmas,
Yeah,
and we played one round of that. She's like, I don't want to play this. She
yeah,
likes she likes the popping bubble thing. The rest of the rules, she's like, this fucking sucks.
yeah,
In the way a
but
4-year-old would say it.
yeah, right, right. No, Violet's hot and cold with that one. She likes Topple. Maybe that's a game you could try. It's with
What is
the
top?
pyramid. You have a stick. You have a pyramid, and then you roll the dice. And then if you have you got a
Oh,
your idea is to get your point is to get to topple and lose points for the other
right,
players.
right, right.
Um,
Oh, she might like that. She likes Jenga a lot.
yeah.
Jenga
So
is a
Jenga, Topple, those games like that, Violet really likes. And I got Kids Quest because I asked
she might
somebody
like
like
Kids Quest. She
I'll
might
look
like
it up
Kids
for you and I'll
Quest.
send it to you. It's literally a dungeon crawler. So if you ever played um um like
Like,
Dominion, not Dominion. What's the game called?
what about Heroes Quest?
Yeah, Heroes Quest or like Gloomhaven, which is more complicated, but your typical board dungeon crawler with cards. It's very easy to play. It took me a
Yeah.
minute just to sort out the rules, but once you sort them out, it's very easy to play. I mean, she learned to play it in like 40 minutes, and then now we're playing it every once in a while, so it's becoming like locked into her brain. She's got a really good memory. So I feel like if I could slowly start, I was going to teach her how to do this. I showed it on the show before. It's that D&D manual. It's like a here it is. Um, I think I've shown this before, but it's a company called D&D Adventure Club. I guess I'll plug another thing real quick. But it basically is it comes with this is the starter guide, but it comes with like all the stuff to create a character, and then it comes with a small uh adventure. Something is eating my cheese. You're literally in a little bar, and you do ability checks and stuff, and you have to fight some rats. But
Oh,
it
awesome.
comes with pre-built magic systems and like character sheets. And it's
Yeah.
literally this is like 10 pages, and what it does is every month, and I believe it's $10, they send you another adventure. So what I'm trying to see is if I can get her into like your idea with the Legos is not a bad idea. Cuz in my head I was going to put out a grid and little
Little
she likes my
figurines.
little figurines that I have, but I think with she can relate to the Legos better.
Yeah,
So
and
that
then
might be an idea to
that
do.
could even be a thing of like I think like the way this DM kind of worked with his kids was like because it's Lego, it's really easy to customize the figure, especially when they level up and stuff or like get new
Yep.
loot.
Yeah, you give them like
It's just
shields and shit.
yeah, very very easy just to swat that out and be like, oh yeah, like your guy has this shield now. Here's his shield that we have because it's a Lego piece, kind of deal. Yeah, so yeah, no, that's what I just kind of remember from that.
I'll send you some stuff.
That's something I think I want to try with my kid once first off learns to read more, because right now she's just like sounding out like sight reading words kind of deal. She's not like fully reading yet.
Right. Well, yeah, Violet's reading like she read us a whole Dr. Seuss book the other day and last week, and I was
Hey,
shocked. Like before I left town, she just like read the whole thing, and I was just like, "Holy crap! Did she just read that whole book?" And we were like, we didn't think she knew how to do that. So
mine has gotten really good at brute force like memorization of the whole book.
yeah,
And
that's
she's
cool.
like, "Oh, I'm gonna read you the book," and then she starts reading it. And it's like clearly like you're not reading the words. You're just remembering what I said to you,
Yeah,
what the book is, and it's like it's astounding. First off, it's astounding that you are committing the whole book to memory.
right.
But
Get her.
this isn't reading, kiddo.
There's this book called The Book with No Pictures or something. It's by B.J. Novak, the guy who wrote for the Office and all that.
Oh, really?
It's
Okay.
called A Book with No Pictures or something like that. It's amazing. Like now, Violet, like she reads the whole thing to you because there's words in there that aren't words.
Hmm.
Like, um, oh man, like blibbity blop, like stupid things like that. But kids
Right.
like get a kick out of it. But it's literally like starts out by saying, "Get a parent to read this to you," and they have to read everything that's written in here. And it makes you say stuff like, "I'm a monkey, and now I'm reading this book with my monkey mouth." And
Right. Right.
kids get a kick out of it. She's put that book to memory now, so it's kind of
Oh,
kind of
okay.
similar to what your kid's doing. She remembers what's on the page, but now she's actually pointing at words and reading them. So I'm just like, hey,
Yeah.
if it works, right? So, because I've been getting
Yeah.
her like golden books and stuff, hoping that she'll start, reading golden books. But
Yeah. Like we're doing the. You ever see the step into reading ones?
yeah, I've got those where it's like all about A's and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And Violet
Yeah.
reads like 4 pages and is like, she gives you this look like I'm better than this book, and
Oh,
you're
mine just she's like I don't want to do this anymore.
right.
She's like it's boring. That's her go to when it's like just something too hard. She's like I don't want to do it. She's like oh it's boring. This
It's
is boring.
honest at least.
Yeah.
Um, you should show what you have to show for tonight because we gotta cut this soon because I know
Oh
the kids
sure.
help with stuff.
Yeah yeah yeah. Yeah. I
Oh,
was gonna show something else, but yeah, Alan mentioned
I think
I
that's one of the cooler Hellboy statues I've seen in a minute.
yeah. This was I'm trying to remember if this was just I think this is just the Dark Horse. I thought it was maybe Mondo originally, but I think it's just Dark Horse.
Does he come with a coat
Um,
too?
Yeah, he does. I took the cut off because it's like I'm not a big fan of cloth, scale cloth fabrics
Yeah,
because like it doesn't look right
right.
because like it's fabric, it doesn't scale down. So
Yeah, yeah.
it like I have it
It's
in the
very
box
stiff
that like
looking. Yeah,
yeah yeah I like it. I like it without the shirt just because it looks more real. I love his right hand of doom is
yeah. That
fully
right-handed Doom
posable.
is awesome. Oh, all the fingers are posable. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah. So you can pose it however you want. It's actually a really articulate hand too. Um,
Yeah, I noticed it's got joints.
yeah, like individual joints for each finger and stuff. And then yeah, the whole thing can turn and then this has obviously like a swappable hand,
Sure.
like usual things. He comes with the alternate head where
The
he's
horns.
yeah, the Anung I can't remember his
Yeah,
full
Anung
name.
and Rama.
Yeah, Anung Rama. Yeah, where it's like the full horns with I think the little flaming crown.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's really neat. I may have to swap that out at some point. Yeah, no, he's a favorite. He sits on my desk right next to my Guild Man
There
because
you
those two
go.
are my favorite action figures. Another action figure that I would like to share at some point, not tonight.
Sure.
But the only issue is like we got it and the head, excuse me, the head and the hands in the box were like somehow became disarticulated from the rest of the figure. And for the life of me, I cannot get them back on. And I've tried like
Oh,
every trick, like heating up the joints and everything, like everything, nothing. It
really?
makes,
Not even putting in hot water like the Funko Pops didn't work.
yeah, I just could not get it to seat well or something. I don't know what's going on with it. Um,
I wonder what the trick is.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll show it at some point. But yeah, he's like I'm looking at him right now. He's missing a hand. I think it's on the ground next to him.
He's just falling apart. He's like the Tin Man. He's just slowly falling apart because
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a shame. It's a neat like little samurai figure too, but yeah, just his hands and head. I don't know if it's like just his body proportions or what, but they sit weird.
gotcha.
So yeah,
That's
so that's
cool.
that.
All right. Well, um,
Do we have any guests lined up, or
so
we're not
I was
sure?
hoping to get. Yeah, I'm not sure because we're supposed to get Sterling Hundley. He's been
Hmm.
busy.
Right.
Um, who was the other one?
Chris Ron.
Chris Ron said he'd be free in April. It sounds like not so much this month. So
Okay.
we'll get him on in April. Kirby Fagan, I sent her an email. We'll see if she responds back. Maybe we'll get her on next. Hopefully, I've been trying to get her for a minute here. Um, she's super busy too. So as of right now, I'm gonna say no, but we might
Things
just
can
do.
change.
Well, we talked to, I might get some artists on to talk about. I want to do an episode about, building those milestones based on your own work. Like doing not just
Right.
shows, but like how it grows, how you feel about it. There's ups and downs, obviously, for that. So I'm kind of aiming for that on the next show, and then we'll hopefully get one or two artists on. I'm hoping to get like Tawny, for example, because
Mhm.
like I told you earlier, she hit a couple milestones at this last show, and it's like I
Yeah, I would
want to
love to hear
I want to hear
what
more about it.
milestone. Yeah, I'd love to
Yeah.
hear that. What milestone she hit.
So yeah. So that's what it is. So give me a second to take us offline. But
All
thanks
right.
everyone's watching.
Yeah, thank you for listening.
You hopefully don't have to listen to just us ramble next time.